Yo ho ho, me pipers, yo ho, and welcome back to Salt and Vinegar Sale. We are back in Two Bones Tavern, and as a compliment to my last video on Lagonda, I paired that with a Monte Cassino. So what in the wild world of sports is Monte Cassino? So Monte Cassino is a variation on the last word. So the last word is a classic gin cocktail. The last word is almost more of a formula, really, than it is a cocktail. I mean, you know what I'm saying. But the combinations of spirit, sweet, herbal liqueur, and citrus are kind of infinite, in that category. But one I thought really stood out to me as something that would pair really well with Lagonda. And there's a few reasons why. The Monte Cassino actually forgoes the gin and substitutes rye. I have lots of feelings about rye. I'm a Whistlepig fan, mostly, but I tend to blend with straighter, higher proof ryes. So think of something like Bottle and Bond. A favorite of mine is Old Overholt. I have actually been really into the Old Overholt Monongahela mash lately. But Old Standby, go-to, Old Forester, no pun intended. That's what we're going to go with here. Why did I go with a rye cocktail for the Lagonda instead of gin? When honestly, I think the gin probably would go better. I just like the rye of the Monte Cassino more than the traditional last word. I don't think these ingredients, which to me are what speak more and fit better with the Lagonda than the gin would. So, or gin with these ingredients, I should say. So we're going with the rye version. I think, honestly, you could try it with you could try it with gin instead of rye in this recipe, and it would absolutely fit. So you could try that and see if you prefer it. I think gin would go beautifully with these ingredients, but to me, the rye in this classic cocktail is pretty sturdy. And it isn't actually a classic cocktail. My understanding is this is actually kind of a modern cocktail. So we're going with Old Forester rye. Next, Bénédictine. So Bénédictine is essential to this. I think it is the most essential ingredient in the Monte Cassino. Why? Because it has this just beautiful, thick, rich, lush honey flavor. And I think that's really going to go well with the smoke, musk, incense, perfume, and lemon taste that I get from the Lagonda. So the final ingredient, this is essential. This I don't think you could part with. The other ingredient typically is yellow chartreuse. And if you know anything about making cocktails within maybe like the last 5 to 10 years, you know that chartreuse in general is pretty much impossible to find. Like, nobody has chartreuse. I actually have 2 bottles of green chartreuse that I've been hoarding forever. So in the absence of chartreuse, I typically use Genepi. This is a Dolan product. If you're familiar with their vermouth, it's like pretty much the most ubiquitous vermouth out there. But Veritable Genepi, this is an herbal liqueur. I'm not even sure if it's classified as a liqueur because it is really high proof. It's 45% alcohol. So the difference between this and yellow chartreuse, really, I'm not sure what the proof is on yellow chartreuse. I think it's in the same sort of ballpark, but for reference, I think green chartreuse is 55, so you're getting a big bump. So you don't need green chartreuse in this drink. If you were going to use green chartreuse instead of yellow chartreuse, you would maybe want to lower the volume of it a little bit and add a little bit more Bénédictine. But in my mind, this cocktail is kind of an enigma anyway, because Bénédictine and yellow chartreuse are so similar in profile anyway. The only thing you're missing from Genepi with yellow chartreuse is that honey flavor. But you're already getting that from this, so this just adds a bigger, bolder, rounder herbal fruit flavor. Not fruit flavor, bigger, rounder, bolder herb, botanical flavor that sort of speaks for the gin in that way. Another thing you could add, I don't want to get too deep into it, but if you wanted to still have sort of the rye whiskey flavor, but the botanicals from the gin, a Jennifer would also be a really good substitute. So there's lots of variations you could do on this. I think this essential ingredient really is going to be this Bénédictine, that honey flavor. And then the last essential ingredient is just fresh lemon juice. That lemon juice is going to speak so good with that and so well with this. You know, don't skimp on the lemon. Get yourself some fresh lemon juice. So let's make this bad boy. All right, so you are going to want to shake this bad boy. I got my tin full of ice. This one. Then we're going to add our lemon juice. Yeah, so the beautiful thing about any last word variation is that it's 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. One spirit, one citrus, one herbal, and one sweet. So here we have our citrus, our spirit, our herbal, our sweet. So let's get this rolling. I'm doing 3/4 ounces. I'm doing 3/4 ounces, but you could easily do 1 ounce, ½ ounce, depending on how much you want. Our 4 ingredients combined, we now shake. Alright. You see them guys on here smack this thing? I don't do that. I hurt my hand. You can do it. Twist. Get our strainer and watch that beautiful golden beverage. So, as tradition for any last word, get our cocktail cherry. I like to slide it on. You guys had no idea how badly I wanted to lick my finger right there. Voila! Monte Cassino. Enjoy, pack your Lagonda, and smooth sailing. Thanks, y'all. All right. Cheers, Pipers, and we'll catch you next time.